お帰りなさいませ。
Hello everyone, your Baka Eagle is here today, and I will truly be an idiot because I have a hard time remembering people's names in this freaking show that aren't from our original cast, and even then, I don't remember the name of Vladlena's uncle. I just know he's Vladlena's uncle, so if I pull or say a character based off their description, don't judge me. You knew why you were here. It says idiot in my name. Anyways, we start this episode out of 86, specifically talking with their adopted father, the president of GLAD. I think that's the wording. I think that's the appropriate wording there. As he talks to one of the generals, basically giving him a report that they're going to send out the 86. And he points out the very obvious thing that you guys are just sending them out to die, basically. And the guy does actually retort with because they're like monsters. Basically, this has been the same conversation that's gone on through this show throughout this time being in the military is, in order to kill a monster, this was last episode, in order to kill a monster, you have to be a monster. And people take that very literally with these 86 use. And as I wrote down, it's basically killing two monsters at once if they can go out to the railway and in the Legion's Morpho, I believe, right? That was the name of that crazy missile. The issue I see with this, and the very obvious point that you have to bring up is, if the 86 die and they're doing the best in your military currently right now, you're seriously handicapping yourself. It's just dumb. It just is. Like, if we're going to use them as weapons, and you're dumb for getting rid of your best weapon. Either way, we go a bit further as well to Spider Lady and the Eye Patch dude. And they start arguing basically that these will never be normal kids. Eye Patch guy brings up. She brings up the fact that she thinks there's going to be a chance for them. That they could have like a normal life after this sort of future. Not completely in those words, but basically those two are arguing over that point. And then Eye Patch just says, no, you're just thinking about somebody who's already died. Like, you're just thinking the dead on them. That, the people who've already died could have lived normal lives and things like that. These are children of war, and now you're just bringing your feelings over from that onto them. As she's holding a dog tag that had a ring on it. So I'm assuming that was like a fiance that is dead. Or that's just a common thing that people wear rings on their dog tags. I'm not completely sure, so forgive me if I don't know that one. What was it? I wrote there. Oh, yeah, okay. So they have I'm kind of skipping through this episode because it's mostly about like a bigger setup episode with some very good parts in it emotionally. So they actually have a plane. This is like the first time we've seen a plane in this anime, like ever, I assume. I think every time we've seen anything, it's always been a helicopter. When it comes to flying contraptions. That was only with like Vladlena and specifically inside the Republic, not for the 86. So now we have an actual plane, and they're going to be flying into enemy territory, but it can only really go about a meter off the ground, they say, or a few meters off the ground. So it's not going to be flying that high. It's going to be skipping across the ground. Also, Frederica, like, immediately says out loud, because she's a kid and she can't read the room. She went, well, you guys are going to go out there. You're just going to die. How are you going to get back? Which, the obvious is, they're not going to get back. And this also brings up and shows the suicidal tendencies of these basically child soldiers. Kind of crazy how much they don't value their own lives. Even if you would say they're living their life the way that they want to, which you're not wrong. They don't value their lives or what potential they might have in the future whatsoever because they can't see themselves in the future. It feels like I'm watching 5 people with survival's guilt run out into a war hoping that they'll get caught at one point. Because whenever they make talks about death or jokes, or whenever they joke about it, they're not really like, oh man, I don't want to die, anything else like that. They're kind of in that mindset of, well, I guess it would be my time then. Survival's guilt. And so, after that, also really funny thing, Frederica was the one who, broke down the lore for the name of the plane. I thought that was pretty funny, and Theo was just kind of, freaking out when they were having that little 5 second talk before all the deep stuff happened, but I didn't remember where it was on my writing. So, Frederica like lowers her head after everybody just kind of ignores her after that point. Um, she's back in her room, which was like the transition they went through was her like with her head lowered, and then it's that same head lowered, but like holding one of her bears. And Shin walks in, and specifically, he starts to let's just get into the whole thing because I'm not gonna go like step by step. At a certain point, Frederica is talking to Shin. They're yelling back and forth at each other. Shin brings up the fact that she doesn't really want Kiri to die because Frederica's like, I'm gonna go myself. You guys shouldn't have to deal with this stuff. This is my responsibility. And Shin's like, I thought you said you wanted him to die. And clearly now you don't. And he's giving her these eyes, like a very scary Shin. Very scary Shin. Um, and she's about to start breaking down. But then she brings up a very good point back that Shin is basically just acting like his brother, his original brother, who he's already had to kill, going out to war in an instant and then leaving her behind with nothing really except the possibility that he's dead. That's not exactly what Shin did, but Shin walking in footsteps that are very suicidal and that will basically lead nowhere except to more sadness for other people is the truth. That's still a thing. She also brings up the fact that he said specifically that a person should decide how they live their own lives. And he was retorting something back, but I think her point was a little bit more important to this, is that he's basically just giving his life away. This is not a decision. This is something they have tricked themselves into thinking is a decision. Going back out to war was a decision of theirs, which is fine. Throwing your life away just for the funds of it, basically, this plan is hinged, so they have to do this themselves. Like, there's no one else that's going to really be able to do this job. Or if they did, it would be a lot more bloody and long. But that's not the reason why they're doing this. They're doing it because specifically Shin as well almost gets a sick kick out of war. This is where they think they belong and should live. Their mindset's warped, especially being as young as they are. So it genuinely kind of hurt at this point, where you see her grab his arm as he's about to walk out, and she just says, "I don't want to lose another big brother." I think that scene actually genuinely hit. I think that actually genuinely made me sad. Because I think they do a really good job of, one, they show what the effects of that can do. Like with Anna, they show with the notes and everything like that. And someone pointed out to me that Anna was being kind of pushed by the redheaded dude to write those angry letters to Shin. So I'll give her a little bit of scapegoat, possibly. Also, we've already seen what happened with Shin with this. Frederica still already lost to Big Brother. Now she's about to lose a second one. And they really let this one sit. She just says that a few times. Shin is still holding on to the door. And then they just zoom in on the artwork that she has. And it reminds you of the innocence of this person. Their lack of understanding for the darker realities of war and life, basically. And how the difference between, because Shin and them aren't like her age, they're like almost what, like 17, 18 something, right? 18, 19, they're getting to those ages. So my point is that they have already been desensitized to this probably at like 14, right? Like way younger, they were already very desensitized to this stuff. They have already accepted this, and they're so far deep, they don't think that there's basically any light for them. I think the only person I'd say probably might think there's a chance for that would be Raiden, just because he seemed to actually have made friends and a career, possibly, and that's a high possibly. Let's go on a little further. My first thought, though, is because they're going onto the plane, my brain went, man, that little butt's going to sneak onto the plane, isn't she? And then they're not going to want to let her die, which is going to make them have to think a little bit more versus just, I guess I'm just going to blow up. Shin, it's been nice working with you. And you'd be like, yeah, it was. And you're just going to keep going. And of course, Shin's going to die last. That would be the thing. The Spider Lady also reminds them how she wants them to live. Then they also get a call from the president specifically saying, please come back, you need to come back. And as these people are saying this to them, in the comms, they just have shadows over their eyes, which I think is just a nice touch. Maybe possibly telling how blind they are to a possible future that isn't just this. And we basically are ending the anime on a bit of a war speech and clips of people fighting the Legion. So they shoot off like shots. The Legion starts coming in. They're shooting they're shooting and distracting the Legion, so the main forces will come out away from the Morpho and start to attack on all fronts. And then they shoot off the plane, flying off, which I thought was going to be a ramp. It was not a ramp, it was a door. Shooting the plane out, and then Theo and the rest of them are like terrified of how fast this plane is. And I think this is a very good point towards the very end. And it's still just a joke, I think, but it's a good point regardless. Shin and them are being thrown into something new that they're afraid of, because they think they have an understanding of everything and they don't. And even in this thing that is currently propelling them and helping them, they find something that they're afraid of. And I think that's probably me reading a bit too into it, but I think it's just important to realize that they don't realize this themselves. Like, well, they realize they're terrified of it. They don't realize that there's something new, right? I'm sure they can assume there's always going to be something new or something scarier, but they don't think about this stuff. They're just thinking about the mission at all times. Even the general points out like, oh, wow, I thought I would never get to see anything you guys were afraid of. I just think because they worded that in the anime episode, I probably should focus on that just a little bit. But now since the main forces are split up, they can go and try to sneak into Morpho, basically, without all the forces. And there is still a lot. You see a ton start to pop up, and then we get Shin's disturbed smile. And as they're flying, we hear the sounds of people dying and trying to hold the front and trying to keep going on, and then also talking down about the 86 again. We're getting like the realities of war, that even your allies aren't always people that you would like. Your allies might be people that you freaking hate. In both regards. I'm mostly talking from the 86 perspective, that they're just being persecuted against, but I guess even if you flip it the other way around, the people who are persecuting or talking smack are working with people they hate as well. You have to just get the job done. Can't be worried about the consequences later. You leave people behind that might genuinely care and want the best for you, but you're doing what you're doing anyways. These are sad realities of war, man. It's the sad realities of war. And as the ending plays with people's voices talking and them all kind of like taking it in and talking about how like, oh yeah, they're still fighting, I guess we better win, right? The winning would be destroying Morpho. We just get Shin's twisted smile, and then the ending ends and his smile is blue. And specifically they've used the color blue to signify the Legion and the color red to symbolize humanity. Again, we haven't got anything back from Vladlina, but I would say with the red streak in her hair, I'm pretty sure that's like a streak of humanity, versus Shin's now smile, that he's slowly turning more and more like Kiri, where he's just losing himself in this war and not really having himself as a person, which people might find makes Shin a bit more, I don't want to use the word bland, but maybe that he doesn't feel like he has his own character yet, which is important because he doesn't have his own character yet. He's literally trying to live out like a weapon. It's what he is trying to let himself do. He doesn't know anything else. If anything, I almost wonder if you can make the point that Shin is afraid of the fact that he'd have to live his life further than what he currently thinks himself as. Like, tell a knife it's got to go raise a family and think about a future with taxes and everything else like that. It just doesn't know what it's doing, right? It's just a knife. But let me know what you think. I know I skimmed over some parts. I have currently some things I was trying to do, and I'm trying to make sure I just get this episode out. I think it was a good episode. I'm waiting for some action. We have had a lot of, I don't want to call them dry spells. We've had a lot of setup episodes. So I'm hoping out of these next few episodes, we're going to get kind of our back-to-back action. And see if any of the characters come through any development. from their mindsets, because they've been reiterating these mindsets and people's feelings about how people want them to die and how people want them to live. And now it's their time to make a choice, like that guy who was giving them a thumbs up before the thing was closing, and with the people waving the flag at them. Will they live for themselves later on in the future, or will they look down in the shade and blind themselves to the possible future that could have been and die out in war? That was, like, strangely enough poetic, but sometimes it just happens to me. Alright, Baka Brigade, let me know down below and subscribe. I'll catch you later. I swear this channel gets bigger than my regular channel. I'll be pissed. Peace out.